At 72, I remember sitting in my living room one afternoon, flipping through a photo album filled with memories of my children's birthday parties and family vacations. The sunlight was streaming through the curtains, and there was the gentle hum of the neighborhood kids playing outside. Yet I couldn't recall the name of the cafe I'd visited just the day before with my daughter. It was a simple name, something I should have easily remembered. That moment hit me like a cold wave. I began to wonder if this was just another sign of getting older, or if it was a real warning that my mind wasn't as sharp as it used to be. Many seniors face moments like these. You reach for a word and it slips away, or you suddenly forget why you walked into a room. The common response is to shrug it off as an inevitable part of aging, to say, that's just how it is when you're over 70. But deep down, there's a little spark of worry, because losing your mental edge can feel like losing a piece of who you are. It's not just about forgetting names or misplacing keys. It's about the dread that, one day, you might not recognize the voices of your own grandchildren or recall the laughter you shared with old friends. I've spoken with many older adults who have confided this same fear, that cognitive decline could rob them of independence, memories, and even their sense of self. The stakes are high because once certain functions slip away, it can become more challenging to maintain social connections, engage in meaningful conversations, or continue enjoying hobbies that used to bring so much joy. Some folks even start to withdraw from social gatherings to hide their lapses in memory, leaving them more isolated at a stage in life when connection is needed most. The good news is that keeping your mind sharp doesn't require any fancy gadgets or expensive programs. In fact, science and many forward-thinking specialists are showing that there are quick, simple exercises anyone over 70 can do to protect and even strengthen their cognitive abilities. And that's exactly what we're going to explore together. By the end of this conversation, you'll have 6 proven brain exercises that can help you feel more alert, more engaged, and more in control of your daily life. One of these exercises in particular is so unexpectedly effective that most people have never even heard of it. Yet it could help you regain the kind of mental clarity that makes you excited to tackle new tasks. These insights aren't just my personal opinion. After speaking with professionals who work closely with seniors in cognitive therapy and seeing real-life results from individuals well into their 90s, I've become convinced that consistent, targeted mental exercises can help stave off decline and bring back that spark of mental agility. Before we dive into the specifics, I'd love for you to take a small action to ensure you don't miss any of the valuable tips we'll be discussing. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing and turning on notifications. That way, you'll always be informed when new content designed to keep you healthy, active, and independent is published. And if you find this helpful along the way, feel free to let me know in the comments. If you think it's spot on, type 1 below. If not, type 0, so I can continue to learn and tailor future topics to better serve you. Let's get started with the first of 6 key exercises that can sharpen your mind, boost your confidence, and bring a renewed sense of hope that age doesn't have to limit what you can do or remember. Think of these as small but mighty tools that can help you stay connected to the life you love. Now let's explore the first brain-boosting exercise. The first powerful technique I want to share is something I call sensory strolls. You've probably heard that taking a walk is good for your health, but the conventional advice stops at, get some fresh air and move your body. That's not what we're doing here. In fact, many seniors think that the real benefit of walking is purely physical, focusing on muscles and joints. However, there's a hidden mental benefit when you train yourself to truly engage with your surroundings using all 5 senses. Most people assume that if they've lived in the same neighborhood for decades, there's nothing new to notice. They put on their shoes, head outside, and walk the same route they've taken 1,000 times before, barely paying attention to anything. This mindset leads to autopilot, and autopilot leads to missed opportunities for cognitive stimulation. When the brain isn't challenged, it can start to go dull, like an unused muscle. Consider Clara, who's now 79. For years, her daily walk was as routine as brushing her teeth. She thought she was checking the exercise box, never once realizing that her mind was drifting aimlessly. She'd leave the house, return home 20 minutes later, and barely remember any details about her walk. After stumbling upon the concept of mindful engagement, she decided to try something new. On her next walk, instead of letting her thoughts drift, she focused on one sense at a time. First, she listened to the rustle of leaves and the distant hum of cars. Then she paid close attention to the changing light in the sky as the sun started to set. She noticed the slightly sweet smell of freshly cut grass. It felt strange at first, as if she were noticing her neighborhood for the very first time. Yet she'd lived there for 40 years. Within a week, Clara reported feeling more alert, not just on her walks, but throughout the day. The surprising truth is that fully engaging your senses forces your brain to process new information, sparking the creation of fresh neural connections. Think of your walk like a treasure hunt, where each step reveals clues: the chirp of a bird, the texture of the pavement beneath your feet, the warmth of the evening air against your skin. Each discovery is a small puzzle piece that your brain puts together, creating a richer, more detailed picture of your environment. Here's how you can practice sensory strolls. The next time you go for a walk, whether it's in your yard, around the block, or through a local park, pick one sense to focus on for at least a minute or two. Listen to the patterns and the sounds around you. Notice the shades of color in the flowers you pass. Feel the breeze against your skin and the ground beneath your shoes. If you'd like to heighten the experience, try mentally describing what you sense in vivid detail. I see bright pink petals with thin yellow stripes, or I hear the distant barking of a small dog. This simple shift from mindless movement to mindful noticing can give your brain a gentle workout. The emotional benefit here is twofold. Not only do you strengthen your cognitive faculties by challenging them to take in and categorize new information, but you also cultivate a sense of presence and wonder. After all, you might think you've seen everything there is to see in your own neighborhood, but there's a childlike joy in discovering small details that you've overlooked all these years. This newfound awareness can energize your mind, lift your mood, and remind you that no matter your age, there's always more to learn and experience. Now let's move on to another fun and powerful brain exercise that might surprise you. This second technique is what I like to call the name recall challenge. We all know the awkward moment when you run into someone and their name just won't come to mind. The typical assumption is, I'm too old to keep track of new names. But that's the misconception. The real problem is usually that we never truly store the name to begin with. Meet Richard, 75, who used to joke that he could remember every detail of a car's engine, but couldn't remember a person's name to save his life. He'd get stuck in conversations with neighbors, calling them buddy or friend, hoping no one would notice he didn't know their names. Then he tried a simple trick. Whenever he met someone new, or even interacted with someone he'd already met, he would repeat their name out loud at least once. "It's nice to see you again, Sharon," or "Great to meet you, Carlos." Beyond that, he'd try to pair the person's name with a detail about them, like Karen with the cat, or John who loves to jog. Within days, he was remembering names that had previously slipped his mind. The surprising insight here is that memory isn't just about retention, it's about attention. If you give yourself that brief moment of focused attention and add a small mental association, your brain files that information more securely. By turning name recall into a personal game, one that has a clear goal and a dash of fun, you challenge your brain to create stronger neural pathways. Give it a try yourself. The next time you have a conversation with someone, be it an old friend or a new acquaintance, make a point of using their name at least twice during that chat. If they mention they love gardening, link their name to that hobby in your mind. Nancy, the rose gardener. Don't worry if you feel a bit silly at first. That slight discomfort is actually a sign that you're doing something new, and novelty is what the brain loves. Emotionally, this exercise fosters a sense of confidence and connection. There's something empowering about being able to greet people by name, especially if you've always found it challenging. And from a social standpoint, remembering a person's name can instantly make them feel valued and recognized. A wonderful byproduct that can strengthen your relationships. Plus, for you, it's a tangible reminder that your memory is still capable of growth and adaptation. If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, please type the number 2 in the comments to let me know you're here and engaged. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I encourage you to do so now. Your support means a lot and helps me continue sharing practical tips like these. Let's continue to the third exercise, which might resonate deeply with anyone worried about losing mental agility in more complex tasks. I call this third exercise Reverse Day. It's a direct challenge to one of the biggest misconceptions about aging, the belief that introducing complexity or variation into daily routines is just too confusing for seniors. In truth, giving your brain new tasks can spark fresh cognitive activity. Sticking to an unchanging routine day in and day out can inadvertently dull the mind because nothing is pushing it to adapt. Imagine you've spent decades making coffee the same way each morning. Same beans, same mug, same chair to sit in. One day you decide to change up every step of that process. Instead of using your usual coffee machine, you try a different method, maybe a French press. Instead of that comfy chair by the window, you stand by the counter and sip, taking note of the shift in your surroundings. Suddenly, each detail feels more noticeable because your brain is on alert, absorbing the novelty. There's a real-life example from my friend Teresa, who's 80. One week, she decided to swap every part of her morning routine. She put her shoes on before brushing her teeth, did a few stretches right after waking instead of after breakfast, and moved her favorite reading chair from the living room to the sunroom. It seemed minor, almost whimsical, but she found that her mind felt sharper throughout the day. The change forced her to be more conscious of each step, and that in-the-moment awareness acted like a mental workout. The emotional transformation was striking. Teresa said she felt a spark of youthfulness, like she was shaking off the cobwebs that come with doing the same things, the same way for years. The surprising twist? She discovered she actually preferred some of her new habits and has made them part of her regular routine. It was a gentle reminder that even at 80, she's capable of change and adaptation. If you want to try Reverse Day, pick one day a week, maybe a Tuesday, and vow to do at least 3 typical tasks in a different order or a different location. You might wear your watch on the opposite wrist, rearrange your living room furniture, or take an entirely new route to the grocery store. The key is to make sure you're doing things differently enough that it forces your brain to pay attention. It's not about being reckless. It's about introducing just enough novelty to keep your mind active and flexible. The emotional benefit here is a refreshed sense of possibility. By breaking out of your usual pattern, you're sending your brain the message that growth is still an option, at any age. You might discover that change doesn't have to be scary. It can be invigorating. And as you see yourself successfully navigating these small changes, it builds confidence that you can handle bigger challenges in life too. Now let's move on to the fourth exercise, which particularly targets the often overlooked skill of mental agility under mild stress. This fourth technique is switch counting. You've likely heard that counting backwards is a good way to challenge the brain. But let's take that idea a step further. Instead of simply counting backwards by ones, we'll alternate the increments. For instance, start at 100 and subtract 2, then subtract 5, then subtract 2, then subtract 5, and so on all the way down. Yes, it might sound cumbersome, and that's exactly the point. When something feels cumbersome, your brain has to put in extra effort. The misconception many seniors have is that math-based exercises are either too hard or they're too simple to make a difference. In reality, the challenge should sit in that uncomfortable zone where you have to think, but you can still manage with a bit of effort. A friend of mine, Leonard, who's 77, was skeptical about this. He said, "I hate math. I barely use it anymore, so why bother?" After some convincing, he tried the switch counting exercise for 1 week. Each morning, he'd sit on his porch and do a round of subtracting by alternating intervals. To his astonishment, he found it woke him up more effectively than his morning coffee. The surprise was that within a few days, Leonard felt a difference not just in how awake he felt, but also in his ability to process everyday tasks. He found he was quicker to match his socks from the laundry or to figure out the tip when paying at a restaurant. It was as if the math puzzle had tuned up the executive function part of his brain, sharpening his focus for everything else. If you want to give switch counting a try, start small. Begin at 50, subtract 2, then 5, then 2, then 5, continuing until you reach 0 or a negative number. Then challenge yourself by raising the starting point. If that becomes easy, swap the numbers. Subtract 3, then 6, or 4, then 7. The emotional payoff here is the pride of conquering a mental challenge. Even if you stumble, each stumble is a sign that your mind is grappling with something new. And grappling with new tasks is exactly what keeps it healthy. Before we move forward, if you're still here with me and you've found value in these exercises so far, let me know by typing 4 in the comments. If you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, now's a great time to do it so you won't miss more practical strategies to keep your mind and body in top shape. Let's keep going. The 5th exercise is something I like to call story shuffle. Contrary to popular belief, storytelling isn't just for kids around a campfire. It can be a potent tool for mental clarity. The common misconception is that if you're not a born storyteller, then this kind of activity isn't for you. The truth is, weaving a short narrative, even a silly one, can work wonders for your mental dexterity. Take the example of Irene, who's 85. She used to say, "I'm no good at making things up." Then one day she decided to describe her morning using the structure of a short story. She gave herself 10 minutes to sit down and craft a brief tale about waking up, hearing the birds chirping outside, and noticing a faint smell of toast from the kitchen. She gave each detail a small twist. Maybe the birds were telling jokes, or the toast smell reminded her of a funny childhood memory. She was stunned by how immersed she became in the process. It was like her mind lit up in ways it hadn't in years. The surprising insight is that creating a story forces your brain to link details, recall sensory experiences, and organize thoughts in a linear or even a playful, nonlinear way. This type of mental juggling acts like a workout for your cognitive skills, especially memory and creativity. Plus, it often unlocks memories you haven't touched in a long time, sparking nostalgia and comfort. To do a quick story shuffle, you can pick 3 random items around your house, like a teacup, a family photo, and a pen, and try to create a 2-minute story that connects them. Maybe the teacup was a secret code passed down through generations, or the pen wrote a letter that changed someone's life. Let your imagination run a little wild. The emotional benefit is a delightful sense of exploration. You're giving your brain the freedom to wander new paths, which can lead to a real boost in mood and mental sharpness. The best part is you can do this alone or with a grandchild or friend. Sometimes doing it in a group setting creates shared laughter and deeper emotional bonds, which in itself is fantastic for cognitive health. Don't worry if your story isn't polished or if it sounds a bit silly. That's all part of the fun. Now on to the 6th and final exercise, which addresses a deeply rooted misconception about aging and technology. I call it digital jigsaw. There's a widespread belief among seniors that technology is too complicated or that it's only for younger people. While technology can be frustrating when it's new and unfamiliar, it also offers some incredible tools to keep your brain engaged. Online puzzle apps or brain teaser websites can serve as a great platform to challenge different mental skills, from memory to spatial reasoning, while also helping you become more comfortable with digital devices. Look at Harold, 81, who used to joke that he was born 2 centuries too late whenever someone handed him a smartphone. Then his grandson introduced him to a jigsaw puzzle app. Initially, Harold fumbled with the controls and had to get used to dragging pieces around on a small screen. Within a week, he was hooked. He realized that not only did the puzzles keep his visual spatial skills sharp, but the act of learning to manipulate a touchscreen gave him a dose of confidence in the digital realm. The surprising truth is that even a short 10-minute session on a puzzle app or brain training site can stimulate parts of your mind that you might not use frequently. It's not just about the puzzle itself. It's about navigating menus, adjusting settings, and exploring new options. These mini challenges keep your neurons firing. If you're wary of technology, start small. Ask a family member or a friend to suggest a simple, free puzzle app. Don't get discouraged if you need to ask for help or if it takes a few attempts to get the hang of it. That effort is precisely what makes your brain stronger. The emotional benefit is a renewed sense of autonomy. By mastering even a simple app, you remind yourself that you're capable of learning new things, regardless of what year you were born. That sense of achievement can ripple into other areas of life. perhaps motivating you to try more digital tools like online communities, where you can connect with like-minded people or keep in touch with distant relatives. If you're still with me and excited about this journey toward a sharper mind, type 6 in the comments. I appreciate every single one of you who has taken the time to engage with these exercises. Remember, your support helps keep this channel going, so feel free to subscribe and share this with anyone who might benefit from these tips. Let's take a moment to reflect on these 6 exercises and look at the bigger picture. We've explored sensory strolls, name recall challenge, reverse day, switch counting, story shuffle, and digital jigsaw. While each exercise targets different areas of cognitive function, attention, memory, flexibility, problem solving, and creativity, they all serve a single purpose: to keep your mind active, adaptable, and ready to tackle whatever comes your way. You might wonder, how do I put this into practice without feeling overwhelmed? The key is to pick one exercise to try first. Maybe you start with sensory strolls for a week and get comfortable noticing all those little details you once walked right past. Or perhaps you start with the name recall challenge at your next social gathering or the next time you bump into a neighbor. The beauty of these exercises is that none of them require special equipment or hours of your day. They're designed to fit seamlessly into your routine. There's also an urgency here. As we age, it becomes increasingly important to stay proactive about our mental health. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking we're powerless against the tide of time, but in reality, your daily choices can make a real difference. Imagine how much more fulfilling your days could be if you could recall names more easily, adapt to new tasks with confidence, and feel excited about learning something new. Visualize being able to play puzzle games with your grandchildren and amaze them with how quickly you pick things up. Picture strolling through your neighborhood and noticing the scent of a blooming garden you'd overlooked for years. These are small but significant moments that enrich life in so many ways. So take a second to ask yourself, which exercise do you see yourself doing first? Which one speaks to you the most right now? If you find it hard to choose, that's okay. It means there's a world of opportunity for you to explore. You could even plan out your week to try each exercise on a different day, making a personal challenge out of it. At the end of the week, see which ones made you feel most engaged and consider incorporating those into your routine on a regular basis. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Which of these exercises do you feel most drawn to? Is it the name recall challenge because you hate forgetting names at church or community gatherings? Or maybe it's the digital jigsaw because you've been curious about using a smartphone or tablet but felt intimidated? Share your thoughts. It's always inspiring to see how others plan to apply these ideas in their own lives. And if you found any part of this discussion helpful or motivating, please like this video, subscribe, and share it with a friend who might also benefit. By doing that, you're not just supporting this channel. You're helping create a community of seniors dedicated to living life fully and fearlessly. Every time you engage, you help spread these insights to more people who could truly benefit from them. Remember, you are far more capable than you realize. Age can bring wisdom and perspective, but it doesn't have to bring a fading mind or a limiting view of what's possible. The power to strengthen your brain is in your hands day by day, exercise by exercise, choice by choice. Keep believing in your ability to adapt, to learn, and to thrive. Because truly, every new moment is an opportunity to grow. I hope these 6 exercises become a source of hope and excitement for you. Whether you're 70, 80, or beyond, there's always room for a renewed sense of possibility. Your mind is a remarkable gift, and it's never too late to give it the attention it deserves. Thank you for spending your time with me, and I look forward to hearing about your progress and successes. Stay curious, stay engaged, and I'll see you in the next video.